Good morning. Thank you for joining us today. In front of us, we have more than 66 kilograms of illicit drugs, including 55.7 kilograms of methamphetamine, 8.7 kilograms of cocaine, 2.5 kilograms of fentanyl, 83.5 grams of heroin, as well as several firearms. This is believed to be one of the largest seizures of controlled substances in EPS history. These drugs were seized as a result of an EDGE, or Edmonton Drug and Gang Enforcement Section investigation that culminated in May with search warrants at 3 Edmonton residents and 4 vehicles. Collectively, Jesse Coble, Mitchell Stieg, and Steven Santillana faced 38 drug trafficking and firearms charges. The EDGE investigation noted that the 3 were involved in multiple aspects of drug trafficking, including transporting the drugs into and out of Alberta, storing them in a central Edmonton high-rise apartment, and distributing them throughout Edmonton, including in our inner city. We are pleased to have been able to intercept this huge volume of extremely harmful substances that were likely destined for some of the inner city's most vulnerable populations. And I want to congratulate the EDGE investigators who worked tirelessly for months on this operation. Thank you, and I can now take your questions. So it's our belief that this group has been in operation for several years.
You said months on the investigation?
Yes. An investigation of this magnitude does take a long time to unwind.
Were there any elements of sting to it?
Sting?
Yes, a sting or people, posing as...
Oh, like undercover operators? Not in this investigation. Yeah, so it's our belief that it is the largest. We've been trying to kind of look through our files to determine if that is in fact the case, but if it's not, it is certainly one of the largest.
What can you say about the guns that were taken from
Yeah, so we're aware that 2 of the firearms were reported stolen. One was reported stolen in Saskatchewan and one was reported stolen here in Alberta. There is also one of the firearms has been brought up from the U.S. We're working with our ATF partners in the U.S. to try to determine the origin of that firearm. And then there's 2 firearms that have been defaced. The serial numbers have been defaced. So we're working through that to try to determine the origin of those firearms as well.
Can you disclose the location of the high-rise of the stashes?
Yeah, not at this time. There's a number of people that reside in that location, obviously, and I don't want to stigmatize them with having this having happened in their location, in their residence.
General neighborhoods, so we can get some shots of the general neighborhood?
I can say it's in the downtown core.
Talk about how important it is to get fentanyl and these types of drugs off the street, just because obviously there's such a huge issue with opioid poisoning. Can you speak to that side of it now that the supply is obviously?
Yeah, I mean, so with respect to our investigations, we prioritize and the targeting of our investigations, and so we'll look at the violence that's associated with the group. We'll look at the drugs that they're trafficking. So like high harm drugs, such as the ones you see before you, fentanyl, methamphetamine. And then we'll look at the community impact that group is having. And obviously, with the knowledge that some of these drugs were bound for our inner city, that kind of, this investigation hits on all those criteria.
Do you have some idea of how many street servings, for lack of a better word, how many individual hits?
Yeah. You know what, it depends on the level that they're being sold at. So like if you take for methamphetamine, for instance, it can be sold right down to the point. Some of it's sold at half gram level. So the actual doses can vary quite a bit, but it suffices to say there's a lot of doses on the table there. This is a huge volume of drugs. As far as what the actual amounts that's circulating at any given time, that can obviously vary as well. But this is a massive load.
Do you have some idea where they came from?
Yeah. So our belief is that this group was sourcing their drugs from the Lower Mainland.
What's the approximation of the street value?
Yeah. So I think all in all, it was probably close to about $1 million or so. One interesting thing or a trend that we're starting to see is if you take the case of methamphetamine, and it's a concerning trend actually. If you take methamphetamine, 5 years ago that was probably valued at approximately the same amount as a kilo of cocaine and almost a kilo of fentanyl, so around the $50,000 mark. But at this time with methamphetamine, it's really started to kind of decrease in value. And so now we're seeing that a kilo of methamphetamine has come down to as low as $3,000 to $6,000.
Would that make it like more dangerous in a way because it's more affordable, I suppose?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of implications for that, and not exactly sure what would be driving that. The economics of it, is it simply a supply and demand type of scenario? But those are things that we're continuing to work with our partners and try to determine what is driving that decrease.
Were the three that were arrested, do they have a history with you guys?
To my recollection, only one of the individuals had a history with us.
Can you say what that was?
I'm not 100% sure, so maybe I'll just stay away from that question.
Are they in remand or have they been bailed?
So they've been charged and they've been released.